Join us as we look into Inter Milan's illustrious history of success under the famous Jose Mourinho. We go deeply into the team Mourinho and learn the secrets of their success, from their treble-winning season to the legacy of his defensive strategy. Inter Milan has a large fan base and many legendary players and managers, including Luis Suarez, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Helenio Herrera, who guided the team to 2 European Cup victories in the 1960s. Inter Milan had to wait until 2008 to win the Champions League title. Jose Mourinho guided Inter Milan to the 2009-2010 season treble in this way. Inter had won back-to-back championships under Roberto Mancini, but the disappointment of losing to AC Milan in the Champions League final remained. Inter began the season with a victory over Fenerbahce, and Mourinho was charged with returning the Champions League trophy to Inter. Despite having 2 players sent off in their next game, they were still able to win thanks to 2 goals from Ibrahimovic. Inter Milan had an unbeaten streak of 28 games in all competitions before facing Liverpool in the last 16 stages of the Champions League. The first leg was played at Anfield, with Inter down to 10 men after Materazzi received 2 yellow cards. The game was evenly matched, and Ibrahimovic missed a chance to set up Cambiasso for a shot. Inter missed various chances in the second leg of the match, and had they scored just 1, they could have easily gone on to overturn the 2-0 deficit. Zlatan Ibrahimovic caused Liverpool real problems, but his strike partner Julio Cruz didn't have his shooting boots on, dragging an important opportunity well wide. After half an hour, Inter finally saw a game-changing moment, but it wouldn't be in their favour. The substitute, Nicolas Bedisso, was sent off, and 14 minutes later, Torres secured Liverpool's place in the quarter-finals. Mancini left Inter Milan after winning the Scudetto for the 3rd consecutive year, and Jose Mourinho was appointed the new manager. Mourinho inherited a challenging squad and needed to make the right signings and better understand his team. Mourinho signed Quaresma and Mancini for Inter Milan, pursued Lampard and Hamsik, and signed Montari. They won the Supercoppa Italiana and 4th Scudetto, but underperformed in the Champions League group stages. Mourinho's 4-3-3 formation wasn't feasible with the players he had. Mourinho experimented with a 4-3-1-2 formation against Manchester United, but Inter Milan lost 2-0 in the away match and failed to progress to the quarter-finals for the 3rd year. Ibrahimovic left the club after the season, and Mourinho focused on the summer transfer window to strengthen the squad. During this season, Mourinho made many changes to the Inter Milan squad, forcing out players like Luis Figo, Julio Cruz, Hernan Crespo, Patrick Vieira, and more. Additionally, Zlatan Ibrahimovic left for Barcelona, despite his important role in helping Inter win the treble. Inter received around €70 million in exchange for Ibrahimovic and Samuel Eto'o, who would be a valuable addition to the squad. Inter also made other important signings during the transfer window, including defenders Lucio and Christian Chivu and midfielders Thiago Motta and Joel Obi. Diego Milito was brought in as a replacement for Julio Cruz, and Wesley Sneijder, who had been allowed to leave Real Madrid, was also signed. With these new additions, Inter Milan started the season strong, with a 4-0 win over rivals AC Milan, in which new signing Diego Milito debuted. The team won 8 of their first 10 matches and quickly rose to the top of the league standings. Inter had drawn their opening 3 games in the Champions League and struggled with poor finishing. In a game against Dynamo Kiev, they missed many opportunities and were behind after former AC Milan forward Shevchenko scored. Mourinho brought on Pal Italia Mata and experimented with Inter's unique 4-2-3-1 system, but the gamble still needed to pay off, and Inter lost. Inter Milan had a slow start in the Champions League and lost their first 3 games. In their return fixture against Dynamo Kiev, poor finishing and missed chances plagued the Italian side. Former AC Milan forward Shevchenko scored the opener against his former manager, and at half-time, Inter was behind. Manager Jose Mourinho brought on Pal Italia Mata in a unique 4-2-1-2-1 formation, which had both wings occupied by technically gifted strikers capable of tracking back. However, come the 86th minute, Inter was still behind, and Mourinho's gamble seemed to have failed. But in just 3 minutes, Inter turned the game around and won 2-1, rising from the bottom of the group to the top of it. In Serie A, Inter dropped points in 2 consecutive league games against Atalanta, but managed to scrape through the first round of the Coppa Italia against Livorno. They regained their form in the next Coppa Italia game and signed Pandev, willing to sacrifice individual goals for the team's betterment. Pandev's signing allowed the shell of a great team to reach its full potential. In the next Coppa Italia game, Inter came from behind to beat the most knowledgeable team in Italy, Juventus, 2-1 with a last-minute goal from Balotelli. They won the first leg of the Coppa Italian semi-finals against Fiorentina, 1-0. Once again, Inter only won 2 of their 6 group stage games, which meant they faced the winners of Group D, Chelsea, in the last 16 of the Champions League. This was a particularly interesting matchup as it was the first time that Jose Mourinho would face his former team since leaving 2.5 years prior. Inter played at home in the first leg and made their advantage count, opening the scoring in just the 3rd minute through Diego Milito. However, in the 51st minute, Salomon Kalou equalised for Chelsea. But in true Mourinho fashion, Inter fought back and went ahead just 4 minutes later, taking a 2-1 lead into Stamford Bridge for the second leg. Clearly, only a single goal would decide the game, and if Inter scored first, they'd sit back and defend their 2-goal cushion. If Chelsea scored first, they'd do the same to progress on away goals. In the end, Inter scored the game's only goal, with Samuel Eto'o striking in the 70th minute to see them through to the quarter-finals. In the quarter-finals, they faced a favourable draw against an overachieving CSKA Moscow side, dispatching them 2-0 over both legs to reach the semi-finals for the first time since 2003. However, the focus on their Champions League run had affected their league performances, and just 4 days after their quarter-final success, they suffered a setback in the league. Inter Milan faced Fiorentina and lost the top spot in the league to Roma, but managed to beat them in a cup final less than a month later. They beat Juventus 2-0 before facing Barcelona in the Champions League semi-finals. Barcelona took the lead through Pedro in the first leg after 19 minutes. Inter Milan had a us-against-the-world mentality instilled by Mourinho. They often faced obstacles but overcame them. In the second leg against Barcelona, Inter had only 27% possession and committed 15 fouls, but they managed to score the only goal of the game and went through to their first Champions League final since 1965. Mourinho's reaction after the full-time whistle is considered one of the greatest moments of his career. In their final game of the season against already relegated Crotone, Inter secured the Series A title by just 2 points, conceding only 34 goals all season. With 2 trophies, Inter set their sights on becoming the first Italian side to win the treble. However, Bayern Munich had the same ambition, and the 2 sides met in the Champions League final. Despite both teams enjoying domestic success, Inter emerged victorious with 2 goals from a 30-year-old newcomer to the club, securing their first ever treble and cementing their place in football history, having never once played a Champions League fixture. And so instead of covering the actual events of the match, which you can view or find out about easily online, let me read you the words of a now as every banner featured in the final. Now together, we crown the kingdom. Following the final, just as quickly as his end decided to rise, they dispersed again days after Mourinho would leave to join Real Madrid. The core of players, which would be over 30, quickly deteriorated, with none being more iconic than Diego Milito. In just a couple of years following the 2009-2010 treble elite, I was back in Argentina, but nobody could take away from him, no matter where he ended up afterward. The fact that he was the man is the winning goal in each interest-free trophy win. It may be remembered as Mourinho's Enter these days, but nobody was more important to his success than Diego Alberto Milito. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe and comment if you did enjoy it. Thanks for watching and enjoy your day.